water, and you can see the pace car lights are out. And Jonathan, we're about to have cars come to green here with the FRP Atlantic Series.
Yeah, the Atlantic's coming to 2x2, fair enough, and they will try to line up as best they can in these conditions. But there's going to be a lot of rooster tails. It's going to be a little bit iffy going into that first corner in terms of vision anyway. I don't think it'll slow anybody down, but it's going to be interesting. They are 2x2 now as they come towards our commentary position. And as you can see, coming down towards the start finish, and as I said, that rooster tail creating a massive mist and fog. But we are green racing, and away we go. And it is the 84 of Jimmy Simpson who leads Keith Grant to the start of this one.
Yeah, and we saw Chip Romer get a little bit sideways there as he got onto the gas, just trying to find grip. I think Keith Grant, just the family that he comes with, I think he's going to kind of lay back and see what's going on. He didn't have such an aggressive start, but what a great start by Jimmy Simpson.
Bottom of the hill, that coming up now is going to be, look, you can see Keith getting a wiggle on, but look how wet it is down here. You've really got to be careful. You've got 300 brake horsepower under your right foot, and you just want to be too careful with that, that's for sure. Through goes the 74, Dudley Fleck going well. Chip Romer, you mentioned, is right there as well. The field already spreading out as a lot of cars further back down the field being a little bit more cautious than the leaders, who's got a lot of confidence. As you can see, the top 4, top 5 pulling away as they come out of 7 and giving each other a little bit of space and room to see. You want to get out of that rooster tail and try to get yourself some vision, and that's exactly what the leaders are doing.
I'm surprised they're brave enough to put our drone up with green flight, getting some great images here. You can really see how long the rooster tail lasts here, and you can see he's kind of taking a line where he can just see. He just wanted to see there in that red car just to get a look of the brake zone in that beautiful Miller car. And here in the booth is going to be joining us is Dustin Hodges, offering us his expertise on this class. But Jonathan, this is really crazy to watch.
Yeah, and you were telling me earlier this morning that there's basically a wet weather line around here that means you, like, going into this turn, you just go wider into it, because if you take the normal racing line, it's just too tough to deal with.
Oh, thanks for having me back, guys. Sorry I'm a little out of breath. Ran from the grid, man.
You get your breath back. We'll keep going. But we're delighted to have Dustin here with him. I can smell, you smell a cars. It's great.
I'm telling you. Just that last-minute change from dries to wets there, like 30 minutes before we went out, just kind of threw everybody in down there in the paddock was thinking we were going to go dry. And, yeah, last minute, that 30-minute break for the lightning kind of let everybody change tires and saved everybody from being late to the grid, to be honest.
This is going to be a real test for your youngsters, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This afternoon's going to be interesting. This wet, dry, drying track, all that's going to be crazy. I tell you what, these Atlanta cars out there in the wet, that has got to be one of the most difficult cars to drive. Really wide tires, all that. Yeah, they have a lot of downforce to help you, but they just don't get hot.
So Simpson leading the way at the moment, just under a second to Grant in second place. Grant taking his time. Fleck is third. Romer now fourth. Hill, Zober, Russell, Ash, and Booth. Dixon rounding out the top 10. Side-by-side racing here. Great stuff. As through goes Dixon on Novaleski. Good little side-by-side action between 6 and 7 there. Just what we like to see. And this is only the second lap, folks. Yeah, the drone's up because it's actually not raining, but as you can see, the conditions just horrible out there. So what were people saying down on pre-grid? We're just basically wondering what to put on?
Oh, absolutely. It was kind of a toss-up, and yeah, last minute, that massive rain, we thought we were going to go dry towards the end of TA2. Looked like the track was drying. We all had dries on the cars. And yeah, that downpour really made us switch to wets. And I think everybody's in the same boat. Everybody was thinking it was going to be dry to the last minute. In fact, to the point, there's a car sitting down there in pit lane that one of the tires back here in the front half, that one of the rain tires was leaking air and didn't have a chance to fix it. So they're actually sitting on dries waiting to see if they can get a few laps with just having a drying track. I don't think they're going to get it here. It looks like it's a little wet for that to happen in the short race.
Yeah, and it looks like Christopher Ash just let these two cars by him. Looks like Christopher Ash may be struggling a little bit here in the wet, or just wanting to pull the car into the trailer under its own power.
Dustin, it's good to have you here, because I said at the top of the program, you know, we've got an eclectic bunch here, and you've got somebody like Hicks, who's just a kid, and then you've got the likes of Romer and Fleck and Simpson, who've got a lot of miles under their belt. So tell us who we got out there.
Well, that pair right there, you're right. You've got the youngster, he's 13 years old, right? Directly in front of him, you've got Brandon Dixon, multi-time national champion in multiple classes, been running for a long, long time. Sorry to age you out there, Brandon. But yeah, it's he's going to learn a lot. Hicks is going to learn a lot following Brandon around the track. 13 years old.
And how do you get a dispensation? Because all right, how do you get the confidence that you know what you're doing, put it that way, and you're allowed to go racing?
He ran, what was it, the F4 development series with SVRA last year, and he got a glowing recommendation from Scott Goodyear. Well, then he was ready to go.
And I know Scott's watching, so he'll be watching intently here. So, yeah, if Scott Goodyear is confident this kid's got what it takes, then have at it.
I think that's
how it works, yeah.
Yeah.
So we are looking at a future star in Hicks then. Watch in the number 14. He's 14th at the moment in that number 4. And Ward Hicks is his name, and he's in a Van Diemen from 2010.
So the guy running out front here in that 80, the 84, in that Cahill Atlantic, that's definitely a well-sorted car. I'm not sure if that's the car Dario or Flynn drove a few years ago, but we go in full course caution.
We are. Full course caution. Out comes the flags. Yeah, so somebody's gone off, and I can see that the trucks are coming out on track, so there's been an incident of some sort. In fact, I think the incident we're talking about is at the end of turn 1, because I can see one car parked out there.
Yeah, there's a blue, I believe that's one of the global cars. It's a blue F2000. I think they're the only blue cars in the F2000 field. Not sure how he got that far over there on the exit of that pit lane there. It looked like he take evasive action to get that far over there at the end of pit wall.
Well, listen, while we've got a break in the action, we're going to take a short break ourselves from Road Atlanta. Join us for more Atlantic racing after this.
Ridge Speed Tour returns to Ridge Motorsports Park June 9th through 11th, featuring the Trans Am Series Western Championship, the Sports Car Vintage Racing Association, Oregon and Northwest Region SCCAs, and the Emerald Cup. Saturday, take part in the Haggerty Cars and Caffeine Car Show with Parade Labs. You do not want to miss the Ridge Speed Tour June 9th through 11th. Family ticket discounts and camping is available. Children 12 and under are free. For tickets, simply go to ridgemotorsportspark.com.
So back to Road Atlanta. It's the Speed Tour from Mission Foods Speed Tour from Road Atlanta this weekend. And it's been a tough weekend because we've had rain, we've had wind, we've had nice day. I mean, in fact, yesterday, you wouldn't have believed it, it was sunny and mild. But at 6 o'clock in the morning, it was storming. Now it's storming again, or at least it was a few minutes ago. But we're in the middle of a race. We're under caution. We've got a car we're trying to remove out of the way. But at the moment, Jimmy Simpson is doing what he did yesterday and dominating proceedings.
Yeah, he looked really good, and Keith Grant also looked really good. I think Keith Grant was going to kind of let the race come to him. With the rain, Jimmy Simpson just kind of sent it, like Bill Elliott said before the Trans Am race. But what were you pointing at?
Jimmy Simpson there, these guys are good diving for this puddle of water, trying to get those tires cool. That means the track is drying more than I expected, because they are hunting for water already.
Yeah. How would you know when you're driving a car that is needed?
Well, it's basically you're looking at the racing line. So as you're driving, if you don't have spray coming off your front tires, you know there's not enough water on the track, and those rains are going to turn into gumballs and cook, and you're going to have zero grip.
Yeah, and for those who don't understand what we mean by that, the bottom line is when you have wet tires on track, wet tires are designed a bit like your road tires, but instead they're designed to race. But if you race them on a drying surface, they just basically start to deteriorate quickly. And you can get to a point, like he says, where they gum up and give you nothing. And so they literally dilapidate and fall apart on you. And so therefore you're literally on ice skates at that point.
They're extremely soft, so in order to build heat in the wet. So if it's dry, they just start, the heat is too much for them, and they can't take it.
Dustin, while we've got a moment, keep going through some of the lists and some of the names that we've had, because it's great. We've learned about Hicks. We've learned about Jimmy Simpson. I was talking to Jim Booth, who's doing his first weekend of this. So, you know, again, who does this attract, and put an ad out for people who might want to be doing this sometime?
Well, there's a lot of big names in this field that some people might not recognize, but the Grant is one of them. There's two pros. I'm not sure if that's Keith or David in that car.
Keith.
But Keith, okay. So the two of them, they also ran LMP3 for a while. Their father runs GT1. It's a racing family, and they've been doing this for a long time. Those cars are dialed in. They know what they're
Keith
doing
from
there.
Trans Am. He's been on the podium already this
absolutely.
season. So, yeah, he is a well-known name to us, and as you say, the Grant family synonymous in both Trans Am and SVRA.
Mm-hmm. And the current leader in F2000, I believe, is Trevor Russell, who is a national champion in SCCA club racing. Won the runoffs a couple years ago. Very fast driver. Right, again, ahead of Brandon Dixon, and that says something.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, just to put it in perspective, our multiple champion, Rafa Matos, won the Formula Atlantic Championship on his way up when he came back from Brazil. When he came from Brazil, he started actually in stock car racing, and he's kind of back there now in Trans Am. But he came through the ranks, won Atlantic, won Rookie of the Year in Indy Lights and in IndyCar. So, you know, you have got some luminaries. Graham Rahal has done Atlantics. Connor Daly is another name. Spencer Piggott. There's some really famous names have come through this kind of racing.
Well, for a very long time, the Atlantic Series was the predecessor of IndyCar, kind of before Indy Lights. And it was, you know, back in the Champ Car days, it was the big deal. And yeah, all the big stars came through that series. The cars are the same cars that those guys used to drive. That Swift 016, the Swift 014, those are cars that Rahal, Matos, all these guys actually raced. These cars have been around for a while, and they're just as fast as they've always been. And yeah, if you're ready to prove yourself as a driver, these open wheel cars are the biggest challenge you can make.
I've got to put a perspective on this. We mentioned Ward Hicks, 13 years of age. Am I right in saying there is an 80-year-old driver out there as well?
Who would that be?
I talked to Bob Wright.
Wietzenhoff?
It's Wietzenhoff, and he says he's 80.
That makes me feel ancient, because I raced against Dave. Dave and I went wheel to wheel back in the late 90s, early 2000s for a long time, and I don't feel like I'm old enough for Dave to be that old yet. So, but yeah, I think that is an accurate statement.
Wow. Well, there you go, folks. You want to go racing? There's still time.
Oh, absolutely. There's stories of guys from Dan Carmichael. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar, but he was kicked out of the Air Force because they told him he was too old, so he went Atlantic racing. And raced well into his 80s.
That makes sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense. But, you know, Bob said to me, the key to this is it's affordable, and the light's going off, we're about to go racing. Affordable, fun, laid-back racing, and that's what this is all about. But, of course, these are real racing cars, so you're going to get the thrill of racing at the very highest level. This pace car has come off. We're going to go racing again, and Jimmy Simpson is off to the races. Keith Grant under pressure right from the get-go from Fleck. Roma there, Hill, Russell, Dixon. They're all chasing down Keith Grant at the moment, but off goes Simpson. What a start by him.
He's rocketed away.
Yeah. Through goes the 8 of Hill. Austin Hill, the youngster, just 16 years of age, in a Formula regional car. That's one of the most modern cars out there with a halo. Can't miss that. But a good clean start. Simpson got away brilliantly.
Yeah, he got the jump on him there. I'm not sure if Keith knew they were going back racing yet.
Roma really stuck in the mist.
Yeah, if you guys want to see what all of you fans out there want to see what it's really like to drive one of these cars in the rain, there is plenty of video on YouTube of in-car footage. You cannot see a thing when you're in that spray. You're following that little red blinking rain light on the front of the car, or the back of the car.
Roma on Grant. He's trying to have a go. Whoa, and he's gone round the outside, but not made it sick. Somehow Grant's held on. But meanwhile, Simpson's pulling away. He had a 1.1 second lead, but now, as you can see from the drone, he's pulling well ahead and using the conditions and his restart to really take control of this race. Now, though, Keith Grant under big pressure as they come down the hill.
See, it almost seems to me like Keith Grant was expecting a drying track. It doesn't seem like his car is doing as well in the rain. Dudley Fleck going up the inside there to take second place.
Nicely done. That's a classic overtake at Road Atlanta. Fleck up to second.
Yeah, you see Keith Grant's really struggling to put the power down coming out of these corners.
Yeah. So the leaders cross the line again, and Simpson now has increased that lead.
Yeah, Keith's about to lose third.
Yeah, and he is. It's Roma's going to take him. Oh, he thinks about it on the inside, closing the door nicely, though. Keith got bored of being overtaken.
Not this lap.
No. But these are, I mean, I know we harp on about it, but you really do got to take your hat off to driving in these conditions. You've got way more horsepower than you need right now in these conditions. And if you put your right foot down too quickly or too hard, you're going to go around immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah, they say you're supposed to, the common adage is you drive like there is a raw egg under your foot, between the pedal and your foot. And you just need to squeeze gently enough that you're not going to pop that egg.
What I always say is get some roller skates, go down to your nearest ice rink, have at it. Yeah? See how far you get on roller skates that are trying to get traction on your ice, and see how that's basically what we're talking about here, guys. You can get traction, but you better know how much you get.
That's very accurate, very accurate.
So we're watching Hamilton, who had a big day yesterday, in 12th. Pierce, Booth now in the top 10. Zoba, what's the background of Zoba? He's been around for a while, yeah. So too Novaleski.
Absolutely. Novaleski has an interesting car. That's kind of a one-off car in the field. It's not a traditional F2000, but he wheels that thing really well, running in third. Richard Zober's been around for a long time in this series. Definitely knows what they're doing. They've had that car for a while. Guys that just enjoy having fun weekends. Same thing, Jim Booth has a blast out there. Then you got Pierce and Hamilton, who are running against each other in F1000, and they've got a battle going on. They were fighting for P2 in the past 3 years in the championship with a much larger fields in the F1000 group. This weekend, nobody showed up. I think they were all afraid of the rain.
Yeah, like I said, 3 classes out there. You've got your Atlantic class, your Atlantic Open class, of which there are only a couple of entries, including Bob Wright and, in fact, Bob Corliss. And then you've got your 1000s, your N1000s, and then the F2000s. And of course, later on, we'll have the F1600, and you made a good explanation yesterday. Yeah, we always saw it as Formula Ford, but now there's some Honda engines around. We've got to call it 1600, right?
I guess that was what, in club racing, they call it Formula F now. But Pro Series went to 1600, which is kind of interesting because the Honda is actually a 1.5 liter, so I don't really know how that works out in the math, but it's all about marketing, I guess.
9 of the 16 gone. Great to have Dustin on board, who's a regular member of this. So how many years did you race these?
I ran F2000 for about 3 years. Started in Formula Vs, ran that for 3 or 4 years. Did some Atlantic for a little bit, and kind of stalled out on the budgetary side of racing, and ended up.
I've never heard that story before.
I know, right?
I don't know how you do it. I've always wanted to go racing. People say, "Oh, you're an ex-racing driver." I go, "No, I haven't got the money to get in a racing car."
People always ask me if I'm going to get back into driving. I said, "No, that's why I'm on the crew and team side now."
Well, and it's risk. I mean, it's the work that you need to put in just to gain enough to get on the grid that almost takes the fun away from it, because you're working around the clock to gain that money, begging people to sponsor your car.
Oh, absolutely. Looked like there's a little bit of a wiggle there on Novaleski's left front wing. I'm not sure if it's loose or that's just a flutter there that's built in for aerodynamic advantages, but didn't look healthy to me.
Here's Richard Zoba. And that Swift 016 Mazda.
Dixon
little car.
Dancing through the room.
Under attack from the Swift 016.
I tell you what, it's pretty impressive what Trevor Russell's doing here. He's only 3/10 behind Austin Hill in that F3 car, and he's in an F2000. That's, he's
I
pulling
misspoke.
away
That was
from
Brandon Dixon, wasn't I was looking at on the 5. Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Dixon's he's pulling away from Dixon. Russell's putting on a rain school right now.
So Simpson continues to lead, and in fact he's pulled well ahead of Fleck, who got a pass Grant, remember. So they're still battling for second and third as we take our first look at the 66. And that is Zoba. Richard Zoba.
Yeah, it looks Romer is still just all over the back of Grant here. He's going to make the move right now.
Here we go. Into turn 1, yeah. While we're watching the battle from high above, we're also seeing what's coming out of our commentary position, and it is side by side, and sure enough, Roma does go through. So Roma up to 3rd place, down to 10A.
I always forget the fans can't see out this big giant window we're looking at.
Yeah, actually, it's one of the first lessons they teach you in TV is don't look out the window, watch the bloody pictures, because we can't see what you can see.
Rookie mistake. My apologies.
No, but you know, it's nice to have a commentary booth where you can actually see what's going on, because sometimes it's nice to look out the window.
It's funny, I actually get upset with F1 announcers when they do that, and I don't see what they're talking about because they're on the wrong feed, and then I just went there and did it.
Yeah, well, and of course, they've also got thousands of pages of graphics, which are also giving them digital information as well. So,
right.
Yeah, I've fallen foul to that myself. Here comes the 63 of Booth. He was telling me he was racing Radicals in Barcelona. That's kind of been his go-to. But he says he really enjoys this. He said he took one look at it and said, I have to have one. So everybody buys their own cars. These aren't spec. You don't bring all these cars together. Everybody brings their own car or a part of a team, right?
Yes, it's, you know, there's ways to do it. You can do a one-off operate. You can buy a car, buy a trailer, buy the tools, buy a truck, load up, go racing. Just you and your buddies can work on the car. Or there's plenty of prep shops in these series that offer rental cars. Or if you want to buy your own car, you can take it to a team and they'll take care of it, haul it, prep it, and do all that kind of stuff. A lot of different ways to get involved.
All right, well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's say I have a 15-year-old son. I don't, but anyway. And I want to take him racing. What is it going to take? We can buy a car. Let's say we can afford a car, an Atlantic car. But what else do I need? I need an engineer. I need somebody to look after it. But what kind of a commitment are we talking?
Well, if you're trying to do it on your own, unless you have some sort of inside knowledge about the sport and you've at least have some experience with either setting up cars or engineering or driver coaching or something, it's going to be really hard to do that without bringing in some expertise. That's why a lot of people go to these big teams. They have all that. They have years of data, years of setup. They have driver coaches, professional driver coaches. They have professional engineers that work for, you know, they don't just work for these guys. A lot of guys will, and engineers and coaches especially, will work for IMSA teams, IndyCar teams,
right,
endurance teams, and then they do this kind of stuff on their off weekends as well. And yeah, so it's kind of beneficial to go to one of the big teams. You also have the advent of having teammates to look at video with and talk about the track with, and kind of, you just get a better all-around aspect of it. But that being said, there's a lot of guys. Trevor Russell is one of them. Trevor Russell and his dad, they do this, it's their show. They work on the car together. Trevor actually spins wrenches on his own car. And same thing with Brandon Dixon. It's, you know, some of these guys do it that way, and they're very successful. But if you're looking to try and move up and be a pro and move through the ranks, usually you're only going to be in a series 1 or 2 years. So the big investment in tools, spares, all that kind of stuff is a lot easier to go to a team, and it's a much less
we're looking
investment.
at one now. Cahill Motorsports is actually the perfect example.
There you go. They're running 1-2 in Atlantic. And
So
they are
Simpson
the Atlantic specialists.
Yeah, this is Simpson on his final lap. It's been a big weekend for Jimmy Simpson. Got a win last time out, and there you see the Cahill Motorsports. That's the team he represents, and as you say, a 1-2 at the moment. Fleck, though, a long way back in second place, but he won't care. He'll take the podium. Roma looks as though he's going to take third, having got past Grant, but this is a walk in the park, even though it's wet, for James Simpson. Jimmy Simpson is known in that black and yellow Swift 016A. Yeah, but there's still a battle over second and third. And here it is. Let's see Fleck and Roma now going at it. Because that is a battle, as you can see on your board on the top left. There's less than a second between them. Here comes your leader. Well ahead of that battle for second and third. Dipping through the puddles last time out. Got to keep your concentration. This is where you can all go horribly wrong if you think you've finished and you haven't. Out of the last corner, though, there's the checkered flag, and he gets a little wiggle on just as I mentioned that.
I think
he
that
does
might have
take
been
the
a
victory.
celebratory wiggle.
Yeah, it was a celebratory wiggle. Just wiggle the tail. Here we go. Second and third. They're side by side. Coming to the line. Oh, what a finish for these two. It's going to be neck and neck between them. Oh, Fleck takes second. Roma takes third.
130 last time.
Great finish.
Side by side through turn 12 in the wet in an Atlantic car.
Yeah,
These guys are crazy.
That's one where you take your GoPro out and put that on the mantelpiece. That's awesome.
That will definitely get some YouTube views if they throw that up.
Well done to Jimmy Simpson. I think that, am I right? So that's two for two, right?
That is correct, yep.
Okay.
Looks like Trevor Russell's going to come home with the win in F2000 as well.
That's right, yeah, top one in F2000 is Russell in the 32. Trevor Russell, yep, the first of the F2000s. And who has won the 1000 battle between Steve Hamilton
Tim Pierce in the 81
Tim
car.
Pierce has,
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, a new customer of mine joined our team this weekend. Decided to roll this car under our tent. So congratulations, Tim.
And you're going to be with the Speed Tour and Pirelli Holdings for 5 rounds this year, right?
That's correct. Yep.
That's good.
And I'll be around a lot of the SVRA stuff. That's one of the things. A lot of these teams don't just run this FRP series. We run SCCA Club races, SVRA, Cahill, Polestar, all of them.
Well, quick check on the results then for the Michelin Foods Atlanta Speed Tour Atlantic F2000, F1000 feature race 2. Jimmy Simpson, Dudley Fleck, and Chip Romer. That's your podium. Keith Grant, in the end, finishes 4th, having been right at the sharp end. Austin Hill, good result for the young 16-year-old in 5th place. Trevor Russell, 6th. Brandon Dixon, Nowoleski, Zoba, and Jim Boo. That rounds out the top 10. Further down, Steve Hamilton, Tim Pierce winning in N1000. Robert Wright, or Bob Wright as we call him, Ward Hicks, Ash Tessemitis, I'll get that right, Tessemitis in 16th position, and Nathan Bird also racing in Trans Am this weekend in 17th place.
Apparently, I missed something there on the last lap. Looks like Hamilton got Pierce. Pierce was leading the F1000 series all the entire race until that last lap, at least according to our ticker that was on the screen there. But it looks like the final results, Hamilton's going to take the win.
Well, that's great stuff and a good race. Well done to Jimmy Simpson. 2 for 2.